Yes.
Introduce yourself to the camera first, sir.
I'm Misha Herscu.
Now, you filming him?
Oh, sorry.
I'm Misha. I'm going to be a senior at Amherst High School. I'm here with Peter Alden in Concord, Mass, nearby Walden Pond. So,
And what are we talking about today?
biodiversity and biodiversity days and your role in their conception.
Okay. Yeah, there's a colleague of mine that I know at Harvard named Edward O. Wilson, who's a famous biologist, and having done years of Christmas bird counts, both here in Mexico and the first ones in South America, I got quite excited, you know, in the spirit of the chase among the other people to find the rarest birds or a big flock of something or something new to the Christmas bird count.
Wait, describe the Christmas bird count.
A Christmas bird count are a series of 15-mile diameter circles spread throughout the U.S. and Canada, and in the last 20 or so years also in Latin America, where we're trying to monitor the populations that are stable, the ones that are going up, ones that are going down, and the ones that are cyclical, and keeping track of our party hours. So whether you have one person in your party or 5, it's the number of party hours that matter. And then we divide how many species we see by the number of party hours to get some feel for how these birds are going up or down. And year after year after year we've been doing this, freezing to death, sending all our money to New York City, where the Audubon Society, National Audubon, is headquartered, and so forth, but just counting birds in the wintertime. And I got this contract to do a series of books for Andy Stewart down in New York, like this New England book, the Florida book, and others, where we wanted to get into biodiversity, and this forced me to get beyond birds more than I was. I mean, I was looking at mammals in Africa and getting a little bit interested in the invasive alien plant problem. But this was in the mid-1990s, and we decided that, or I just had, I guess it's called an epiphany or something like that. And one day, as I was doing, and I was in touch to do these kind of books, you know, with the wildflowers and the bugs and the fish and the turtles and the snakes and mushrooms and stuff like that, I had to rely on a lot of friends, colleagues, contacts to help me choose species, and in some cases have them write up the species. And so I got to know lichen people, I got to know mushroom people, I got to know slime mold people, and grass people, and flower people, and fish people, and you know, all the different bug groups, you know, and so forth while I was doing this book. And then it hit me, why are we in the competitive end of nature? I mean, there's, you know, the altruistic thing, and we should save it, or it's endangered, we should save it, but there's a bit of sport involved. And something hit me, what was it, just as these books were coming out in the spring of 1998, that, you know, why are we just doing birds, and why are we just doing them in the wintertime? Why don't we do all organisms and do it in the summertime? I mean, duh, it's not that difficult. And it turned out that we couldn't find any association of people that went out on a given day, as in a Christmas bird count, but where everything was fair game, and do it at the height of biodiversity in the summertime, at least in the case up here in New England. So I said, geez, that would be fun, now that I know a whole bunch of people that are into fields other than mine, in the field of field biology.
From writing these books.
What?
That was from writing those
Well,
books.
from writing these books, yeah. And also to honor Roger Tory Peterson, who has been a mentor my whole life, who wrote many of the books for the Peterson Field Guide series. I got in touch with Ed Wilson because he and I were involved with honoring Roger Peterson at Harvard on a once-a-year memorial lecture series where we've had David Attenborough, we've had Richard Leakey, Jane Goodall, Bob Bateman, a wildlife artist from British Columbia, David Suzuki. We had the former Secretary of the Interior speak, honoring the great naturalist, artist, birder, Roger Tory Peterson. And so I got in touch with Ed Wilson and said, hey Ed, you know, I've been thinking of organizing a biodiversity day, and he'd done some books on biodiversity, and I guess had initiated the term biodiversity. And he said, great. And I said, well, I've already, you know, so Ed helped me pick the date. We picked July 4th, which was the date that Thoreau moved into his cabin by Walden Pond many, many years ago. And so Ed went through his Rolodex, I went through my Rolodex, and we invited people to come to Concord to join us to attempt to be the first group of people in the world to see 1,000 species in a day, collectively and helpfully, not competition-wise. And so we got people from New York City like Guy Tudor, we got a guy named Noble Proctor from Connecticut, and various experts. And we all assembled out here, right here in this backyard here in West Concord. If you want to scan around, we had a big we had big white sheets up with very strong lights, trying to suck in every insect we could within a half a mile of here. And since we have coniferous forest, we got deciduous forest, we got shrubland, we got marsh, we got river, you know, we got little mini habitats here, like all that's around Concord. And, you know, we had like 400 species by midnight, you know, that had come to this net. And then at dawn, we met over at Walden Pond at the replica of Thoreau's cabin with, you know, basically 100 people. But it was like a Noah's Ark of experts. So we had like 2 mushroom people, 2 slime mold people, 2 fly people, 2 beetle people, you know, several bird people. As many more birders wanted to come, but we had enough birds covered, and it's only so much food we could provide. And unlike the Christmas bird counts, we decided, leave your wallets at home. We will put you up in homes of people that I know in Concord. We will give you dinner. We will do a breakfast. We had a brunch. We had a huge midday party with, you know, like 150 people and people from the Boston Globe and some European magazines together and whatever, and then continued out in the evening. And then we had another huge dinner where Roger Peterson's widow came, and this Bob Bateman came with his wife Birgit, and all these people from New York and New England together. And it turned out that we got just under 2,000 species in one day. Our parameters were that we decided on 1 millimeter. If the animal, the mushroom, or the plant, or whatever, was larger than 1 millimeter, we would count it. So we did not do bacteria, we did not do viruses, we did not go over to Emerson Hospital and start doing, you know, tongue swabs to see if we can get some more species on the list. And part of that was a feeling of many of us field naturalists, in that we're sort of irritated at the direction that biology, so-called, has gone recently, where it seems like 99% of the money, the effort, the teaching is going into microbiology.
Right.
I mean, some of it is driven by the medical field and the health field, some of it by agricultural things and so forth, but it looks like, you know, it used to be biology was you go out in the field and there's plants and there's animals and there's birds and there's butterflies. Today, if you major in biology, 9 times out of 10, you're spending your whole life staring into a microscope at some microscopic things of interest medically, or for human health or agriculture, or some internal body organs or something like that, but it's medical. And we see a split sort of between microbiology and some new term, which is not in the dictionaries, called macrobiology, where we study the things we can actually see. So we used 1 millimeter as a thing. We ended up with 1,905 species. We would have had 2,000, but 2 key players just couldn't come. Somebody who studies micro moths, David Wagner at the University of Connecticut, and our Spider-Man was held up in Cleveland due to some aircraft problem, so we only had a handful of spiders. We should have had 200 spiders. But the interesting thing was this, is not that we gathered a list of 2,000, almost 2,000 plants and animals and mushrooms, but the networking that took place between biologists that had never met each other, because the mushroom people talked to the mushroom people. Right. And the bird people talked to the bird people, and the bug people talked to the bug people, and most of them did not know each other. And to have the excuse of a superstar like Ed Wilson here, and many other superstars in their own respective fields coming together, has cross-fertilized a whole bunch of people's endeavors here scientifically and recreationally. And a lot of birders got into plants and damselflies and many other things, so it was very worthwhile that way.
Was it just experts there?
That was just invited experts. This got the attention of the Secretary of Environmental Affairs for the state of Massachusetts, a guy named Bob Durand, who was a state senator originally from not too far away, and a former U.S. Congressman, Chester Atkins of Concord, multi-term U.S. Congressman, who was a friend of Bob Durand's and a friend of mine and the family's. And so we all got together and had a meeting out here at my house in West Concord, and we decided to bring into the state government the first ever government-sponsored biodiversity days in the world.